Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. Now, heading into Ripple's Swell event, day one's over and day two coming up here. There's a lot of speculation around what is Ripple going to be announcing at this event. Throughout the XRP community, there seemed to be mostly agreement that surely Ripple will let us know some substantial new piece of information. And so it was fun to kind of speculate about this, especially in light of the new marketing campaign that Ripple put out there. It was an actual commercial, which seemed to be consumer-facing, really. It's all over the internet. And it was highlighting money moving instantly around the world, utilizing the Thai baht. What was the other one? There's another one. What was the other currency? Was it the yen? It might have been the yen. Somebody out there is yelling at their radio or their radio. Who's listening to me on radio? Somebody's yelling at their computer or their smartphone, saying it's the yen. It's probably right. I think that's right anyway. And so I was speculating, so this coming out, I was like, maybe, and it was just for fun, like maybe it'll be the case that at Ripple's Swell event, we'll learn about one or two new corridors. And that has come to pass. It was just a shot in the dark. I had nothing else to go in there. But it wasn't the corridors that I would have guessed. Corridors that I would have guessed. Take a look at this headline from AB Crypto. Ripple's OnDemand Liquidity product, and that's what XRP used to be, just rebranding. It's now called OnDemand Liquidity. What Ripple's OnDemand Liquidity product expands to Australia via FlashFX platform. So there you go. Australian corridor officially open for business. Who would have guessed that particular corridor? But people at Ripple, they're in the know. They're the ones that can figure out from. Well, because look, you can't assume. Okay, this is the most heavily trafficked corridor. That's why this corridor must be open next. There's all sorts of other considerations, including from a regulatory perspective. What are the hurdles? What are the speed bumps that we have to overcome in order to properly open up a corridor that way? So if there are some corridors, even if there's a lot of traffic and you want that business, if it can't be done and you don't have the market makers in place, then you go to other corridors first. And this could be part of that. But again, every little bit I know about this corridor, I learned today, because there are literally tens of thousands of different corridors through which money can flow. So consider that. I've also got a Forbes article which talks a bit further about on-demand liquidity here. Got quotes from Brad Garlinghouse. Now, this article also has a section, and it's got more quotes from Brad Garlinghouse in this, about the XRP community. And I'm going to share that with you in this video as well. And then I got some other tweets, and that'll be it for this one. But before I speak any further on this topic, if you would please delicately tap that like button. And if you're a fan of Ripple and XRP and new corridors being open for on-demand liquidity utilizing XRP as a bridge currency, go ahead, do yourself a favor. Subscribe to the Moon Lambo channel. Treat yourself, girl. You deserve it. All right, into this first piece now. Ripple's annual Swell conference began on November 6th. Where Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse took center stage and expressed a bullish sentiment in terms of mainstream adoption and future developments. One of the key topics addressed by Garlinghouse during the conference was the commercialization of on-demand liquidity. According to the CEO, ODL received positive customer interest over the past 12 months via MoneyGram and FlashFX. Now, according to a recent report, Ripple's on-demand liquidity product has announced its expansion to Australia for global payments with the aforementioned payments platform FlashFX. FlashFX had been one of the initial adopters of on-demand liquidity, and they are the first organization to introduce the use of blockchain technology to facilitate cross-border payments in Australia. The current expansion to the island continent has been deemed instrumental for RippleNet's global reach and deployment of its global payment solutions. And they cite, of course, XRP, the third largest digital asset, will be utilized by Ripple's on-demand liquidity product in order to act as a medium of exchange between the sender and receiver. Now, here's a quote from Nicholas Steiger, Chief Enabling Officer at FlashFX. There is no doubt that Ripple's solution is the key to the future of cross-border payments as it provides on-demand liquidity using a digital asset to reduce the reliance on pre-funding at the destination for FlashFX. And one thing that you're going to notice is you continue to follow me, assuming that you continue to follow me on the Moon Lambo channel here. One thing that you're going to keep seeing as I'm reporting on all of these entities that are utilizing XRP as a bridge currency through on-demand liquidity. The ones that are jumping on board, they're not a little bit bullish about it. They are massively thrilled to be utilizing XRP as a bridge currency for remittances, whether it's a bank, financial institution, whatever it is. I think that you're going to see that moving forward. And so all the entities that I've covered right now, that are to this point rather, they've all had the same glowing, raving reviews. And these are not stupid business people. They are paying customers of Ripple. Listen to their words. Right? Anyway, the current development further solidifies the development of Ripple's product, as over the course of the year, the implementation of OnDemand Liquidity has been quite substantial. Earlier in June, Ripple also entered a strategic partnership with MoneyGram as the organization... Sorry, I got to clear my throat. My bad, guys. MoneyGram, as the organization made a $50 million investment in one of the largest money transfer institutes. Ripple's ODL was also included in MoneyGram's current payment solutions. Very cool stuff. Take a look at this. This is XRP community member XRP Crow, who is at Status on Twitter, STEDAS. Made an infographic, which I liked, and I like sharing his work with you. Let me just go ahead and read this. So on the right, it's got, for those of you not looking at the screen, don't worry, you don't need to. Flash FX logos here, Ripple, and then OnDemand Liquidity. And then it's got the old XRapid logo there also with it. And it states, Flash FX is pleased to announce we're opening new Ripple OnDemand Liquidity, ODL, a payments corridor from Australia, and are now fully operational on RippleNet. Ba-bam! There you go. Now take a look at this. So I got this next piece. Well, he's the author too, but it's from Thomas Silkager. I still don't know if I'm saying that right. One day somebody's going to know how to enunciate that and communicate it to me. And then I will not have to state that I don't know if I'm saying that right every time I say his name. But anyway, he's part of the XRP community. And he actually, I knew about him when he was just a member of the XRP community. And then he became a writer at Forbes. So XRP community member first, writing about Ripple and XRP after that. Fascinating, right? Take a look at what he wrote. I'm just going to cover parts of this because otherwise the video is going to go way too long. Here, there's two segments that I want to touch on here. This one is about on-demand liquidity. So, of course, utilizing XRP as a bridge currency. That's what we're talking about. And he writes, for on-demand liquidity to be successful, healthy digital asset exchanges are needed around the world, and only a few weeks ago, Ripple invested in Bitso, the largest digital asset exchange in Mexico, with plans to expand into more corridors in Latin America. Brad, of course, he's referencing Brad Garlinghouse, Ripple CEO. Brad comments that Ripple wants to see companies like Bitso be very successful. This is one kind of public example of the kind of investments we want to make into digital asset exchanges to make sure they're healthy, robust, and we will continue to look at opportunities like that. And that was a direct quote from Brad Garlinghouse. And then the article continues. In the press release, Ripple highlights Go Lance, Via Americas, Flash FX, and Interbank Peru. Brad mentions Flash FX being one of the key partners in opening up the on-demand liquidity corridor for Australia, but also highlights GoLance, a platform for freelancers. And here's another quote from Brad Garlinghouse now. A lot of their freelancers are based in the Philippines, and the average transaction size ends up being less than $100. It's pretty transformative for GoLance's business. It makes joining the GoLance network more compelling, and they get more freelancers joining. Well, what do you know? Real world problem, real world solution. How about that, gosh darn it? Do you think utility matters yet? When asked more about the momentum and interest from existing customers to use on-demand liquidity, Brad shed light on the kind of questions they receive. Here's yet another quote from Brad Garlinghouse. I'm a correspondent bank. I've got customers around the world, and I want to serve the Philippines, and I don't have a correspondent banking relationship there. And we can say to them, look, one path is that you can sign up a correspondent banking relationship, and you pre-fund, and you have that quarterly overhead of compliance requirements and all the things that go with that regulatory point of view, or you can shoot off payments in real time. Direct quote from Brad Garlinghouse. This was followed by another story about one of the largest banks in Canada that was exiting its correspondent banking relationship in Brazil. So here's another quote now, Brad Garlinghouse. The reason they're exiting is because of the cost and the overhead of continuing the service. That day, the bank felt like, look, it's not worth it. We can use some other correspondent and add a hop. Now, adding a hop adds time and that's cost, But they said to us, look, if you can allow us to be in Brazil without being in Brazil, that's great for our customers. It is an example of, it is not only going to be about fast-growing payment providers like Via Americas. I think we absolutely will see larger financial institutions who see the benefit of not pre-funding and using that working capital for other purposes. Exactly, not exactly rocket science. Conceptually, just once you start to dig into this a little bit and understand that there's a real world problem being solved here, not exactly rocket science. It won't feel like it at that point. Now, check this out. Subheading, the XRP Community. You will find this fascinating. Listen to this. In a change from previous year's Swell conferences, Ripple sent out invites to members of the XRP community, such as bloggers, YouTubers, but not Moon Lambo, blah, blah, and social media personas. It created confusion amongst some XRP investors on social media who questioned how it benefits Ripple to host both customers and XRP enthusiasts at the same event, as well as generating rumors and hype about potential announcements. And here's a quote now from Brad Garlinghouse. Well, I'm afraid I'm going to rain on your parade. It's not quite that exciting. There are a lot of enthusiasts around XRP following Ripple, and they are advocates for sure, and extremely thirsty for knowledge and awareness of what's going on around XRP. So we have 600 to 700 people, including customers, coming over the course of the next couple of days, and so it felt like allowing them to hear firsthand some of those things felt appropriate. And then Brad said that, continuing with a comment on hype. So here's more from Brad Garlinghouse. We have tried really hard to make sure that our reality is ahead of our hype. We would rather under-promise and over-deliver. And I think what one of the challenges in the crypto ecosystem right now is people hyping and making up a lot of promises about what smart contracts or predictions platforms can do. Look, I think there's a lot of interesting ideas, but for this industry to be successful, we can't be focused on hype. We have to be focused on reality. To me, that's perfectly responsible. And they didn't have to invite any XRP community members to Swell, but they did. And all I can say is that those people that got to go, clearly appreciative, but everybody else in the XRP community, such as myself, also very appreciative that those members got to go, because it provided an opportunity for them to share up to the date announcements, all sorts of information as it was allowed. And there's been a bunch of live streaming from, for instance, Digital Asset Investor and also Brad Kimes. And I got a kick out of them. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to talk too much about this video, but they were live streaming at the same time. I'll talk about that in another video. I don't want this one to go too long, but fascinating stuff anyway. But anyway, for Brad, the tension between serving financial institutions and having a crowd of XRP investors weighing every word said or written doesn't seem to be a conflict. Shifting the focus to how the community around XRP is benefiting the XRP ecosystem, he said, and here's another quote. This is from Brad Garlinghouse, Ripple CEO. There are a bunch of interesting companies doing interesting things in and around the XRP ecosystem. Ripple is one significant player in that space. But I've been excited to see a number of other projects building on the XRP ledger. XRP is extremely efficient, particularly for payments, and that's why Ripple is using it for that purpose. Coil is using it for that purpose. Forte is using it for in-game payments. And I think you will continue to see more companies use XRP. And we even have companies who at one point built on a different blockchain looking to migrate to the XRP ledger because it's more efficient. And then the piece, this part of the piece wraps up by stating, reasserting the importance of the industry focusing on reality and not hype, he stated, quote, "We've got 24 customers with millions of dollars of flows per week. This is no longer a science experiment by any stretch." That's amazing. Think about that. From going from a beta version of XRapid, now known as OnDemand Liquidity, in October of last year, from that's when it was officially launched. The production version came out in October of last year. But going from that early days, the production version of OnDemand Liquidity, to a little over a year later and having a couple dozen real businesses utilizing it and seeing corridors being developed, as time passes. To me, it's astonishing. And just wait for the rest of the other customers on RippleNet utilizing the payments portion. Wait till corridors are built out and they can actually adopt XRP, utilize it via OnDemand Liquidity, because it's a coming here. All right, take a look at this tweet now. This is from Alice Kwan, who tweeted out, if you missed the opening sequence kicking off a Swell by Ripple, created by Sami Keenian, I'm butchering it, don't know. Sit back and enjoy reality unfolding before you. And it's going on, if you're looking at the screen here, you don't feel like you have to if you're like driving or something, especially not if you're driving. But this is, I'm not playing the sound, but you can see part of this clip here. It goes on for about a minute, so I won't hang on for the whole thing, but it was snazzy looking here. Nice little intro. And let me go ahead and hop into the last tweet I want to share with you, and then I better wrap up the video before it goes any longer. This is from Ripple. Swell by Ripple, hashtag Swell by Ripple, is about making connections. It's where RippleNet comes to life here. And there was just a really short video clip here with a little quote from Josie Mantilla, who was, that's the one that was cited in she was cited in a Ripple's Insights piece that I covered in my last video anyway. So here's a quote. Swell is a great place to meet your future connections. All of the partners we integrated this year, we have met at Swell. It's looking at the opportunity of building a different way. And again, that's Josie Mantilla, blockchain specialist, emerging technologies at Interbank Peru. So very cool stuff. That's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo!